BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The United States and Britain have warned that Russia and Iran are transforming their relationship into a fully fledged defence partnership with serious consequences for Ukraine and Iran's neighbours. The US National Security spokesman John Kirby said Iran had become Russia's top military backer, supplying hundreds of drones that have been used to attack Ukraine's infrastructure. Here's our Washington correspondent, Nomia Iqbal.
President Biden has long been concerned about Iran and Russia's burgeoning relationship. So he had been saying for a while that Iran is sending Russia drones, which are being used in the invasion against Ukraine. Iran admitted that, but they claimed they were provided before the war in Ukraine. But US officials think Moscow is now helping Tehran in return by giving them military and technical support. So things like training Iranian pilots to fly one of Russia's most advanced air defense fighter. They're worried that military ties are deepening and it's leading to this real full-fledged defence partnership, to quote them.
The United Nations says Belarus will allow the transit of Ukrainian grain through its territory for export from Lithuanian ports. A UN spokesman said the Belarusian Deputy Foreign Minister, Yuri Ambrazevich, made the offer during a meeting with the UN Secretary-General. Mr. Ambrazevich reiterated his government's request to resume the export of Belarusian fertilizer products that are currently subject to international sanctions. President Zelensky of Ukraine says the eastern city of Bakhmut has been practically destroyed by Russian bombardment, leaving only burned ruins. The Russians have been trying to capture the city in the Donbass region for months. Mr. Zelensky described the frontline situation there as very difficult, but he said Ukrainian forces had repulsed attacks. A niece of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been sentenced to 3 years in prison. Farideh Moradkhani was arrested last month after she called on foreign governments to cut ties with Tehran. In an online video, she accused the Iranian authorities of knowing no rules except force and maintaining power. The UN Security Council has granted UN and other humanitarian aid agencies working in its behalf the blanket right to work unhindered in countries subject to sanctions. Previously, the Security Council generally granted exemptions on a case-by-case basis. Ireland and the US sponsored the measure. The US ambassador is Linda Thomas Greenfield.
Our goal is always to stop terrorists and human rights abusers by using a legitimate tool to maintain peace and security, but still allow life-saving humanitarian efforts to continue for those in need.
World News from the BBC. France, Spain and Portugal have announced the construction of an underwater pipeline to bring hydrogen from the Iberian Peninsula to the rest of Europe. Due to be completed by 2030, the H2Med project is expected to supply 10% of Europe's hydrogen, helping it to transition to cleaner energy. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, welcomed the project.
Your H2Med project goes absolutely in the right direction. It has the potential to help us build a real European hydrogen backbone.
A court in Britain has sentenced the head of a Kurdish people smuggling gang to 8 years in prison in absentia. The National Crime Agency says Tariq Namik, who's on the run, brought Kurdish migrants to the UK hidden in lorries. His group is said to have smuggled nearly 2,000 migrants. Argentina have qualified for the semi-finals of the World Cup, beating the Netherlands 4-3 in a penalty shootout. The BBC's Ollie Foster in Doha was watching.
This was an astonishing match. Argentina looked to be cruising towards the last four. They were 2-0 ahead. Messi at the heart of everything. He played a beautiful pass for Molina to put them 1-0 up at the break. Messi then scored a penalty, but then a masterstroke from Louis van Gaal, the Netherlands head coach. He brought on Wout Weghorst. He scored a wonderful header inside the last 10 minutes. And then there was this ingenious free kick. It was played short. He picked it up just inside the box and he beat Emiliano Martinez in the 110th minute. 2-2. That went to penalties as well, and that is where Argentina prevailed.
In the semi-final, Argentina will face Croatia, who earlier knocked out the favourites Brazil in another penalty shootout. BBC News.